This just in. Breaking news. Our top story tonight. Phil Hellmuth's epic winning streak continues as he destroys Negreanu in their third straight match. Is Hellmuth just on the heater of a lifetime, or is he maybe a lot better than the online pros think? It's killing me. Next up, Daniel Negreanu with yet again another impressive second place finish out of 2 players. You know, he might want to consider focusing on his heads-up game for a little. Just a thought. Also tonight, Landon Tice with a shocking concession in the heads-up challenge versus Bill Perkins. Looking back on it, I think I recognize where it all went wrong.
It's a huge money-making opportunity.
And finally tonight, a neck-and-neck race in all-time WSOP Caches between Phil Hellmuth and Daniel Negreanu. Phil, otherwise known as Man Without Many Online Tournament Caches, says, "I wish WSOP would separate online caches from real-world caches." Shocking stuff. All this and more tonight on Poker News. Because it sounds like my last name. We've got all of that coming up here in a moment, but before I jump into it, I want to talk about what I've been up to lately. I just moved to Austin. I am a little bit bare bones here in terms of my setup. We're running an older school camera and the lighting just got up. The walls are barren. There's probably an echo to the sound. Don't worry about the quality of things. It's going to increase over the next several weeks or months, and eventually we'll have a nice studio layout like we did at the last place. Now, I'm also going to be doing a podcast weekly. You can check it out on YouTube, the Doug Polk Podcast, or over on Spotify as well. We're already up there. We're eventually going to be on all of the places you can get your podcasts. The pod's going to be mainly about poker and cryptocurrency stuff, but we're probably going to spread our wings and talk about all kinds of things, mainly gambling related. Who knows what'll come up as it does come up, but if you're interested in checking that out for some long-form content, you can do so over on those platforms. That leads us quickly into our first topic tonight, the Landon Tice Bill Perkins challenge coming to a close. And I don't want to spend too long on this. Just a quick recap for you guys. It was a 20K hand challenge. It got 5K hands in and Landon conceded. It was a 200-400 no-limit match, and there was a 9 big blind per 100 handicap laid. But all of this stuff is in the podcast. We got a good deep dive there. You can listen to Jason Moe, always outspoken, talk about his thoughts on the match. He did bet on Bill. Kevin Rabichow talks about being the coach behind the scenes for Landon, what it was like, some of the things that he tried to teach Landon and the structure, as well as what went on leading up to the concession. And then finally, Bill Perkins joins as well to talk about his victory and his thoughts on the match. So all of that over on the podcast. I'll put a link in the description below. You guys are welcome to head over there and check it out. Moving on, let's talk about Phil Hellmuth's victory streak over Daniel Negreanu on the heads-up challenge that they had going over on PokerGo. If you're not familiar with this, it is a heads-up sit-and-go format, and these players played 3 separate times, and Phil Hellmuth won all of them. Negreanu did not manage to win a single match against Phil Hellmuth, despite doing well in some of the earlier matchups in terms of big blind per 100 or win rate. As it went on, Phil Hellmuth dialed in his reads and had a couple of truly insane hands. I'd love to show you those hands, but PokerGo has been pretty aggressive on the legal front with letting people show images and videos of the event. So the best we can do is this image of what I imagine it looked like while the two were playing. As you can see here, Phil Hellmuth is...
This needs to come down immediately.
It's not okay.
That is the intellectual property of PokerGo. Do you want to get sued? We are going to fucking sue you.
No, I'll tell my attorney. There were a couple hands that really stuck out in that final match. There was a hand where Hellmuth limp folded ace-jack suited. Pretty crazy stuff. Not a thing at almost any stack depth. I mean, maybe, just maybe, if someone ripped in way too much money in a spot where you had a very good hand, but not the nuts, you could possibly consider laying it down because you think the player is simply too tight to show up. No, I couldn't see it happening, guys. I really couldn't. I think there's no way to possibly fold that. The other hand was a doozy. I've been saying that apparently some lately. Hellmuth 3-bet and opened with 8-3 suited. Negreanu had pocket twos. By the way, 3-betting 8-3 suited, not a thing. But, you know, apparently it is a thing because here we are. Then he faces a 4-bet from pocket twos, 5 bets the 8-3 suited. The flop is Jack 10-6 rainbow after Negreanu does call with pocket twos. He check calls the nothing burger and then leads a board pairing 6 and takes it down. Some serious white magic was activated in that hand. I'm going to do a deeper dive here at some point, whether it's on my podcast or on this channel, about this run from Phil Hellmuth and looking at a bunch of the hands, but I'm going to give you my synopsis right now. When people are more willing to step outside of what is the correct thing and embrace their reads or go with their gut, you're going to see a lot more hands that look like this. There was a hand where Phil Hellmuth limp folded queens to someone, and the guy had ace jack or ace queen or something, and he was way behind and he looked like an idiot. Then you have hands like this where he looks like he's just masterfully weaving his way through traffic. The point is, when you're willing to go with your reads consistently, you're going to have hands that look really good and you're going to have hands that look really bad. And I think that's one of the reasons why people enjoy watching this older style of poker, is that people are just going with their gut, going with their reads. And because Hellmuth has been playing this style for so long, I think it's pretty likely he can tune into small subtleties that most players can't because he's so familiar with the way that he plays. Again, that doesn't make him a winning player in these game types necessarily. He would need some fairly large edges. It would make him very unlikely to be successful online, but it can help mitigate some of the edge he gives up by having these edges in other ways. On the other hand, it could just be sample size, and it could also be just results-oriented thinking. When we see these hands work, we think, wow, that's amazing. When they fail, maybe we don't remember them quite so often. Or maybe when the lights have shined the brightest, he's managed to be lucky and to have these situations. I would say it's most likely that he does pick up some small things that allow him to be a bit more accurate with these types of decisions. But at the same time, there's a bunch of luck going into it, and that's what sort of blends blends these things together to make a painting of what Phil Hellmuth's style looks like. Now, at the end of the day, he's not going to beat people with really good fundamentals, which is why if I played Phil Hellmuth in a challenge, he would be dead. He would have no chance to beat me. If he played other players who were as good as me or better, he would have no chance. Maybe in a live setting, he can pick up on some small things. But if Hellmuth and Negreanu duked it out for, let's just say, 10K hands, Hellmuth is not very likely to win that. But in a small sample size format where you're playing a sit and go, and you have some chances to make some big reads, some big moves like this, then yeah, you absolutely can do that, and you do have a chance to win. I think I might have forgotten to mention this earlier, but he did turn a flush draw as well. So maybe you could say in that 8-3 suited deuces hand, semi-bluff, question mark? Don't know, guys. I'm not qualified to teach you about Phil Hellmuth playing heads up no limit. Not many are. Let's move over to the other side of the table. Daniel Negreanu losing once again to Phil Hellmuth. Not going to be a great look for Daniel. I'm sure it's frustrating that he can't seem to book a win. Now, it's one thing to lose in this format because even if you think you're a favorite, the edges are so low. And this is why when I saw the odds go up on poker shares that Negreanu was, I want to say 1.3, 1.4, 1.5%, 1.4 to 1 favorite, I was a little surprised just because I'm not sure that there's enough edge in this format for a player to get an edge like that. However, it really depends on how bad your opponent's playing, and maybe people really think that Hellmuth wasn't going to be very strong. Also, I know Negreanu was booking a bunch of his action, so I think that probably moved the line some as well. But what this has brought my attention to is just the pure number of second places that Daniel Negreanu has in a row. It's kind of amazing. It's actually one of the worst heads-up runs I've seen in a very long time. So he lost 3 straight heads-up sit and goes to Hellmuth. Not fun. He lost our heads-up challenge. That one's a little more understandable because it's such a skill edge. There's so little variance there. And he was coming in as an underdog, so that's a reasonable one to lose. But then check out his Hendon mob of all heads-up results in recent time. Just scrolling through here, we're looking for either first or second place finishes. Actually been a couple of years since he's made a final 2 of a tournament. 2019, a 100K high roller, he got second. 2019, a 10K stud, he got second. 2018, a 300K high roller, he got second. 2017, 25K high roller second, 100K high roller second. June 2017, 10K 08 second. 25K in 2017 second. 25K in 2017 again second. And finally in 2015, he got first in the Shark Cage, which I believe is a sit and go. If we want to go past that back into more actual tournaments, second in the big 1-for-1 drop, second in a 10K low ball, and then a first place in 2013. The last major tournament that Negreanu has won is 2013. That is wild. He's got a bunch of bracelets too. Has 6 bracelets, but none since 2013. None in 7 years. Pretty wild. I've gone through Daniel's hands. In fact, I was going through them just today because I was creating the module for the Upswing Poker Lab on our challenge. Bunch of fun hands there, by the way. If you guys want to check that out, it should be up in August. But he's gotten a lot better, and he's actually pretty good now. So I think this will probably turn around at some point. But this is a frankly epic losing streak in Heads Up. Maybe one of the most epic of all time. Food for thought. On the Hellmuth Negreanu topic, one last thing here. I want to talk about their all-time WSOP caches, and this is something that won't surprise anyone. But essentially, Phil Hellmuth is not a happy camper because these online caches are counting against him. It's also funny because despite complaining about it on Twitter that they're counting against him, he also makes some subtle comments. You know, when I say subtle, maybe not so subtle, where he talks about playing to cash versus playing to win. I cashed in WSOP tourney number 1, busted in 143rd place. I cashed a lot last year in online WSOP, but only 2 to 3 deep runs. I only care about winning. Thus, I'm going to make adjustments. I believe I will cash less, but I will have more deep runs. Need to make sure I can, and then some image I'm not going to waste my time with. Basically, while Hellmuth is saying that caches shouldn't count, he's also saying that they don't matter. Nice little 1-2 punch from the guy leading the world in bracelets. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the bracelets. I'm sure it's for the sanctity of the sport, guys. This is some very serious stuff. This is not because he has the most bracelets, but he does have the most bracelets, by the way. He'll be the first one to tell you that. This is a topic I just briefly wanted to mention. When people start to achieve records, I feel that one thing that happens with people in general and the news and the media and the way that stories are written and just narratives is they start to be tailored to the people that are in those positions, right? When we look at NBA and we look at great players, it becomes, can they win championships with different teams? Does that make them in a class of their own? You get this perspective about how great they are because of these pure numbers. And I'm not to take away from the bracelets from Phil. Obviously, it's very impressive to win that many bracelets. In fact, the most impressive thing about that is being consistent over that number of years. But to now try and make the conversation about the number of caches, I mean, who gives a fuck? These are WSOP caches. Some of these caches are, well, what's the lowest? What's the cheapest cache here? What's the lowest stakes cache here for Phil Hellmuth? One of these caches is for $340, guys. $340! And we have to debate about it, whether it should be in the books or something. Should it be on a separate... Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. And we're just arguing about utter nonsense. We're not going to look back and think, man, Hellmuth, what a great player. He cashed for $340 when he got 2,545th in the WSOP to bring his career cash total up to 319. What a legend. Also for Phil, man, you don't have to defend every ounce of your turf. It's okay to let someone have the WSOP caches. We can live with that. I mean, Chris Ferguson won WSOP Player of the Year one year, and we all have to live with that. Before we go, I also want to congratulate Phil Ivey on his victory in the 25K Heads Up tournament that went on down in Cabo. Pretty impressive to see Phil Ivey best a field that had a lot of sickos in it, including, you know, people that are really good that you should think could probably win because they're so good at the game and maybe they don't get enough credit for their game, and people think that they're just, all they do is care about solvers when they played 99.5% of their hands without ever using a solver, and in fact hadn't used one until last year when they started studying for their Heads Up challenge versus Negreanu. But for those people, they were really tough, and Ivey managed to get it done anyway. Props to Ivey. It was a tough one to take down. He ended up meeting Patrick Antonius in the finals. An old school battle made you wonder what year it was looking at that one. And if you saw some of the hands, you might have wondered what year it was too.
Bo says Ivey doesn't need a pile solver. He has a solver. Well, we've already established. Uh-oh, 3-bet.
Interesting. We have
See that coming. 7-9 offsuit.
and a kind of nice spot for Kruk to just call and hope. Let's see what Ivey does here after 3-betting. Comes with half pot, just north.
It's probably not going to go anywhere here.
South, just south rather. And I agree, Joey.
Oh,
Oh, wow. A kind of informational sort of.
he raises.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Ivey doesn't look like he wants to go anywhere here. He's got 9 high.
It's just 9 high, guys.
The will
9 of
pursue.
hearts, 7 of diamonds. Oh my God, Joey! Joey! Bang, bang. I mean, that was, guys.
Just your pretty average run-of-the-mill way to play versus pocket twos there from Ivey. Standard stuff, really. He's got the worst possible hand he could even have and completely just soul-read and destroyed his opponent who had pocket twos. By the way, rip that guy. In fact, he tweeted this, some words, and his pocket deuces in the ground. I guess you could say they're in the muck, actually. Then also, there was this wild one in the finals.
I think Antonio should bluff now. He could have some straight draws, but if they had a heart, they improved. I think Antonius might want to. Oh man. Oh man, this is a hand. Wow.
What is Phil gonna do?
And Ivy could raise. Ivy could raise. He blocks
Blocks
boats.
boats, yeah.
Oh my God, Jamie. Oh my God. Is he gonna do it?
Do it. Okay, well that's
Oh.
pretty sick too.
Oh my God, though. That is pretty sick.
Just your classic check raise bottom pair, check call trips when the flush gets in. Second pair turns itself into a semi-value bluff. Trips, then check calls the river on the 4 flush versus the second pair that bluffed. It's just standard stuff, really. You can put that in your solvers and smoke it. Anyway, congrats to Phil. Enjoy my money. And finally tonight, I want to talk about an issue that you're probably not too familiar with, but PokerGo has been getting pretty aggressive on the legal front recently. Let me give you an example. Susan Ettery, otherwise known as @PokerSusie, tweets, "Hey, at Phil Hellmuth, I have to take the tweet down with the clip of you folding ace-jack suited to Daniel's ace-queen. I'm not happy at all. I also pay for PokerGo every month. Why can't I share this with friends on Twitter?" And there is a posted screenshot of her conversation with PokerGo, which is downright embarrassing for PokerGo, where it goes like this. PokerGo, "Hello. Please do not post PokerGo clips on YouTube and Twitter. Thanks. Please remove them. We'll have to issue copyright takedowns with Twitter Monday if they are still up." With how well they're handling this, I'm surprised they didn't tack on a please respond there at the end. I mean, come on, PokerGo. We know you guys are hemorrhaging money. Phil Hellmuth tweeted as much, where he let this bombshell go, saying that PokerGo has spent $20 million on content and they're losing money. Phil tweeted saying, "I am disappointed that PokerGo app is taking so much criticism. PokerGo spent $20 million bringing top-notch poker content and lost a ton of money. Yes, I am an owner of the app and presumably PG will end up doing well, but the criticism hurts. When everyone else left poker, PG stayed." This is a difficult conversation to have about PokerGo. For starters, obviously it's very good for poker to have PokerGo making this content and doing it in the space. I also think that the events they put on tend to be good. The quality is extremely high, and they've had some very fun moments. But at the same time, they've made poker gated with a subscription, which I think is not the best model. I think a more ESPN-based model where you make money off ads makes more sense, rather than trying to gate the content. And you want this content to be popular. And this is what I kind of don't understand. Why are they aggressively going after people trying to share their content? It's a lead magnet to get people in the door to buy their product. They're saying, please don't share this because we're so worried people are stealing it. It's like they're blaming the people that are sharing the content as the ones that are costing them money. But the reality is, when you have a subscription here, you want people to purchase your product. You want people to see the fun moments. I don't think that their model makes sense. I don't think that it will work in the long run. And it makes sense to me that they're taking aggressive action to try and protect themselves. But come on, PokerSusie. We're going after 300 follower PokerSusie for posting a clip for her friends online. Come on. Where are we going to draw the line? And this DM chain is just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Issuing copyright takedowns with Twitter on Monday to PokerSusie. Some sad shit. There are a lot of good people at PokerGo, so it's not all bad, and they definitely are good for poker. And you know, Phil makes some good points with what he's tweeting, talking about them, but I don't know if this direction is going to pan out, because if you're thinking that the problem with PokerGo is that Poker Susie wanted to share a hand, I think you might have some bigger problems than that. That's going to be it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Throw a thumbs up on there. Let me hear what you guys have to say if you want more of this content. And of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.